It's called the Solar Field of Death. Sounds like a movie, doesn't it? Solar Field of Death. This week, we're looking at a solar power plant that puts taxpayers on the hook for $1.5 billion. Yes, $1.5 billion. Here's the history. In 2011, the Department of Energy provided a $1.5 billion loan guarantee for the development of a solar thermal field in California called Desert Sunlight. Okay, we all know there's a lot of sunlight in the desert. That's one of the largest solar thermal fields in the world. But most of us understand, and we see these solar fields going on. Maybe there's solar panels on top of some houses and commercial buildings. There's fields of solar fields absorbing the sunlight, turning it into energy. And that's an alternative energy to what we usually get from the power plant that's burning coal, burning gas, or whatever. Environmentalists like this because it doesn't use coal. There's been a war on coal here and a war on fossil fuels. What really surprises me is the war on natural gas, which is a fraction of what carbon emissions come out of fossil fuels. Nevertheless, alternative energy is something that the government has been pursuing. But we would like them to pursue that in a way that's economically feasible and certainly doesn't put the taxpayer at such great risk. Well, the Obama administration, essentially, in its war on coal, has said, look, go on out there, we'll put up loan guarantees, do your thing, experiment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if it fails, don't worry, the taxpayer will back it up because we've given a guarantee to these companies who come up with some ideas. Some of these ideas have worked. Some of them have been cost effective, much fewer than people thought, but some of them have. This one was supposed to be the ultimate. Let's go out in the desert, the sun shines all the time. We will put not solar panels, but we're going to put mirrors. Here's how this thing is developed. This huge field of mirrors. And let me, just to give you a glimpse of what this thing looks like. All right, that's out in the desert. Here, these are literally millions of mirrors out there, all directed at this tower. This tower then reflects the heat coming off, bouncing off the mirrors, all directed in here toward this tower, which then boils water, and then it conventionally uses generators to absorb that energy and produce that energy and then send it out over the wires to light up homes and factories and provide electricity for people in Southern California. Now, sounds pretty straightforward. Maybe a good idea. Probably would have been good if they had tested it out before they put the millions of mirrors in there. They would have learned some things. What's the first thing they learned? Because clouds. Nobody seemed to factor in that, you know, sun doesn't always shine in the desert because sometimes there are clouds. And as it turned out, a third of this power that they thought they were going to get, they don't get because it's cloudy. Now, you think somebody would have said before the government offered a $1.5 billion guaranteed, well, what about those cloudy days? I mean, you've projected how much energy we can get to light up and provide electricity for Southern California when the sun is shining, but you're operating this on the basis that the sun is always going to be shining. How about nighttime? How much heat are we going to get off the moon directing toward those mirrors? Not very much, if anything. So clouds and night came into a factor, and what we found out, the plant is now producing only about a quarter of the energy that was originally envisioned. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not somebody who has specialty in alternative energy, but I think I would have had the gumption to say, how about clouds? How about nighttime? I mean, are these projections that you have made regarding the kind of energy that's going to be produced will be cost effective so the taxpayer's not on the hook? Apparently, somebody didn't figure that out because we're only getting a quarter of what we thought we were going to get out of that. Now, so what the energy company did is say, okay, we're not getting what we wanted, but we need an extension. We needed extensions on the payments to the federal government because the plant isn't generating the kind of energy and therefore not getting the kind of profits from the users of the electricity for us to pay back on the loan. So the Obama administration said, yeah, we're for alternative energy, go ahead, we'll extend this. And they did extend this. Just a few months ago, the California Public Utilities Commission gave the plant a lifeline, giving it one more year to fix the problems. Another problem was, while production improved, the average price for a megawatt hour of electricity from the plant was $150. Compare that with the price for a megawatt, the same amount of energy on natural gas, $35. So the customer said, wait a minute, I'm paying a utility bill at the rate of $150 per megawatt hour of electricity, and if we were using natural gas, we could only pay $35. And so what's the deal here? Well, it's turned out that alternative energy, while it's alternative, also is not cost effective. And the question is, well, but we're saving on carbon emissions. Okay, well, that didn't work either. For starters, it takes the boilers that they got to heat up because, of course, it's nighttime and the mirrors aren't reflecting any sun that reflects heat that causes the water to boil and then can be used through turbines to produce electricity. It takes 4.5 hours, 4.5 hours every day to get them up to speed. And guess how they do that? They have to use natural gas in order to get them to the point where then the sun can add more to it. Maybe somebody didn't figure that out either. In 2014, the plant emitted 46,000 metric tons of carbon, nearly twice the amount of power that power plants can emit under California state law. So the state law said, here's the limit of what you can emit in carbon, but thank goodness we have this power field because that doesn't issue it issues twice as much as what they were getting out of natural gas. So that apparently didn't get figured in. Now, people say, well, but there's an environmental advantage here. This environmental advantage means we don't have to put carbon in the air, and it's going to be a much cleaner source of energy, and there won't be any adverse effects on the environment. They forgot to factor in that there are birds that fly in the air. A lot more birds than you think. The heat. I don't know if we got a picture of that. No, we don't. Do we have a picture of the frozen fried bird? The heat has killed over 3,500 birds each year. They fry to death because there is so much heat reflected from those mirrors that it's a huge field. And if you're a bird flying, you're probably attracted to the light. By the time you get into this field, it's like going into a deep fat fryer. Now in Indiana, the saying is, if you can fry it, you can eat it. I've seen these pictures of the fried birds. Trust me, you don't want to eat it. But $1.5 billion of taxpayers' money in a solar field of death that kills thousands of birds each year, doesn't produce much energy, and then finally sets itself on fire. I'm not making this up. They had the mirrors redirected the wrong way, and so it hit the cables that were providing the source for the energy to go down, and the cables started on fire. I had a picture with the towers on fire. We didn't bring it down here. So what a boondoggle. I mean, look at is this interesting? Yeah. Is this funny? Yeah. But this is taxpayer money. This is a waste of $1.5 billion of taxpayer guaranteed money. This is the money that people send to Washington after a hard weeks of work. So while it's interesting to talk about fried birds and mirrors directing the tower on fire and clouds coming over at night and so forth and so on, the serious thing in here is this yet another waste of taxpayer money. Think what this $1.5 billion could be used for. If it could be left in the hands of the taxpayer for whatever needs, pay the mortgage, send the kids to school, etc. If it could be used for the common defense of protecting the American people from terrorist attacks or essential functions or repairing some bridges or paving some roads. I mean, it's like driving in a third world country here in Washington, D.C. I mean, there are potholes like you wouldn't believe. There are cracks in the roads and you're bumping along. I see people, hubcaps flying off of cars and people pulled over to the side because their tires blown out. I blew two tires out a year ago for the same reason. Look, no environmental activist, fiscal conservative, or rational person should continue to support this kind of thing. And so I'm labeling this as a waste of the week. The Obama administration continues to refuse to admit any of these half-baked, in this case fully fried, ideas that don't succeed. So I'm going to continue, it's continuing to advocate for the solar field of death rather than put this taxpayer money to better use. So here we go. We're going to add another $1.5 billion to the waste of taxpayer money, putting us almost $172 billion of accountable, through government agencies, waste, fraud, and abuse.